Just going to go over the Cummins stuff real quick. We're going to go over the cm849, the cm2100, and the cm2200. So the 849 was the 5.9 Cummins 06 and 07. Below that was the 03 to 05, but that's a different software. That's HV Tuners. And then we have the 07.5 to 9 trucks with the cm2100 in it, and then the cm2200 was 2009.5 from 2010 to 2012. So we're just gonna go over that real quick, see the differences, and every year they change stuff up. So right off the bat, this has been modified. This has a CSP5 switch in it. This is a 5.9 Cummins. This is an 07. Anyways, moving on. The pedal position, desired fuel table. This is just a factory. You could modify this table if you want. I think I usually set them at like 200. You don't want to modify the 0. Leave the 0 at the 0. Moving on. Injection pulse width. This is the main table you're going to be playing with to get any fuel out of these things. Most of the stuff I do, and most of the stuff anybody should be doing, is just focusing on these 6 cells here, unless you have big injectors and all that stuff. But if it's a stock injector truck, you're really going to just be focusing down here on these 6 cells and maybe all these cells. But you want to have the engine spun up before you start adding fuel. How this table works is it's based upon microseconds, and this is how long the injector is open for. So at idle, you're going to be hovering around this area, and at wide open throttle, you're going to be hovering down in this area. I usually stay at 2,000 or around that area for 100 horsepower tune. If you want to go higher, you can. Obviously, people like power. I never go above 2,950. 3,000 is max. I suggest that you don't go higher than that. But yeah, that's pretty much how this table works. I mean, you just come down here and we'll take some of this away. This is factory. And then, if you're looking to build an 80 horsepower tune, you can just select these cells, come up here and add 1.1, and then times that. And then you just interpolate. So you grab 3 cells, come up here, and then over here, do the same thing, and you're good. Moving on, pilot. I really won't talk about pilot in post today. I don't want to talk about it right now. I'll talk about that later on. A lot of people like to turn it off. Some people like to leave it on until a certain RPM. When you're at wide open throttle, I feel like that's probably not necessary. And a lot of this probably can be turned off. This is kind of just a stock map though. So moving on, you got this boost limit here. I was just kind of messing around earlier. You can max this out, or make it to 200, whatever you want to do. But I'm sure that this table has an effect on boost. So if you're running a really big turbo and you're wanting to push 70 to 100 psi with twins or whatever you want to do, compounds, you probably have to play with this table. Moving on, this table here is kind of a limiter too. You can raise these values. Probably set them all at 145, or you can go to 190 or whatever you want to do. The maximum is 300. I'm sure some people just max them out. You can run whatever you feel comfortable. You can try this at 145, but if you leave this stock and you floor this vehicle, this thing will not make the power that you're looking for. So it's best to just, set the thing at 145 to start with. And if you want more than that, then just do what you got to do. Main injection timing. This is, I don't know if this is a Smarty map or where this thing came from, but I think this is factory. Smarty kind of does the same thing. I think this might even have a Smarty map in the different ones, but sometimes when you pull a file out of a 03 or 05 Cummins with HV tuners, it will already have a Smarty file in it. because HV Tuner gives you like a factory file for them. Anyways, for whatever reason, sometimes when you pull the files out, you'll get like a Smarty map or whatever. But anyways, it kind of looks like this. And all it is they're using the stock thing and just throwing a bunch of timing in it. But I think usually they put just something crazy like 10 or 18 degrees of timing down here. Smarty was not the greatest tuning for the 5.9 Cummins, but it's not too bad nowadays, I don't think. But when they first started out, definitely very smoky, lots of timing, not great. This is not how I make my maps. The Cummins like negative timing, these 5.9s, especially when you're in altitude. Until the turbo gets spooled up, you do not want a bunch of timing in it. Even little bits of timing will create smoke. Get the turbo spooled and then start adding your timing. But right now for 10 degrees, 11 degrees, this is probably fine for an 80 horsepower tune. Pilot timing, yeah, don't need to mess with any of this stuff. Just leave all that stuff alone for now. Fuel pressure, 160 is equal to 23,000 PSI usually. So right away, I mean, you could go down here and put this to 160. You're not gonna, hurt anything. I don't know why they do that from the factory, but you're probably not gonna rev your engine to 3,500 anyways. It's gonna shift, and you're probably gonna shift, in this area here, but whatever. I just like to keep the fuel pressure up there. Moving on, this is the same thing. You'd want to go back through here and type 160. You can smooth this map out way more and get it so it doesn't have all this jagged stuff. I mean, like I said, this is just a factory map. Usually the fuel pressure regulator base duty cycle, I don't mess with this at all. Leave that alone unless you research how to mess with it. I'll just jump into this tune real quick and kind of show you what my timing map looks like when it's all smoothed out and done for an 80 horsepower tune or 100, whatever. Yeah, so then, if you got this, then you want to add more timing or whatever, you want to, run more power or whatever you want to do, you just go through here, kind of find you could use this map, and you could just adjust it by 10%, each time you want to run a little more power, then go straight to 10% more. And then, you just keep jumping up, and then you just want to smooth everything back down. So you want to smooth it there, and then you'd want to come over here 3 cells and smooth it that way. And, then you could just keep bumping your timing up. That was only like a 1% increase, but anyways, usually, I mean, you can run 15 degrees. I usually, if you're going to run 15 degrees, I would probably just stay at 3,000 RPMs when the engine's spooled up. When the turbo's spooled, engine's moving, all the parts are happy, then you put the timing in. Because if you put it in too low, a lot, it's going to be smoky, and it's hard on the rod bearings and hard on other things in the motor. So maybe not do that. Okay, so that's pretty much the gist for the 5.9 stuff. I won't go over the torque management a lot or anything for that just yet. We're gonna jump over to the 07.5. Okay, hold on. I think it went to the wrong one. Here we go. So this is an 08 truck, 6.7, 68 RFE tranny. So right off the bat, this doesn't have the CSE5 in it, so we're just gonna have to go to internal flash, injection quantity. These are those pedal things again. This is just more resolution. Again, I think I have set these 200, been fine. Mostly it's just like throttle pedal feel. You can leave it alone, play with it, but you could raise a little bit up here, more maybe at the higher RPMs. You know, do you. But moving on, this has been modified. I think I just added 10% down here. So we're about 2100 microseconds. And if we go back, can show the timing. So this timing table is kind of based upon a newer truck. So the newer 2009.5 to 12 trucks have 18 degrees factory at wide open throttle. So if you kind of just go based upon one of those, you can put that kind of timing table in here. I mean, you can't just paste, you know, copy and paste. You'd have to just build it out, kind of fill it out and look at, you know, where they're adding timing at, but get you close. And it seems, you know, like a really nice map. So go from there, and you know, it'd be a good starter tune. You know, probably the 100 horse tune, and you know, like I said, you can increase. I usually never go above 30 degrees on these motors. The 5.9, the 6.7s, all about that 30-degree mark. I feel is when they're done. Yeah, so we'll drop in the fuel pressure, show you the difference. So these trucks have 180 M3 N factory, so they run 26,000 psi, and they don't start adding fuel pressure till when you're pretty wide open and at 2200 RPMs when the turbo is spooled. So yeah, I usually just leave this table alone. It's pretty smooth and not, you know, pretty usable. So really no reason to mess with it. These have turbo control, variable vane. Usually I don't have to mess with these. Pretty decent. You know, once the turbo is spooled at wide open throttle, it closes the vanes and you're good, you know. So if you have an aftermarket turbo, you could mess around with this a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this 08 through 7.5 through 2009. We're going to CM2100. We're going to go to the CM2200 now and look at that. So I haven't messed with too many of these, so just going to have to see what happens here. Okay, so this is your pedal torque again. I would think that this is kind of it says pedal position, so you could probably leave this alone. And this has probably been modified already too, so I don't know if I have a stock one. Yeah, this is, I don't know, this could be factory or it could have been modified, but something to look at. Torque conversion tables, I usually, you know, every year these trucks, I don't tune the 2010 and newer trucks just because, you know, every year these things become harder and harder to tune, and they become a pain in the ass, you know. So you don't get the files anymore. You can't pull them out of the computer, so you have to call someone or take the computer out of the truck and bench flash the thing. You know, I just never really cared to tune these trucks. So I have tuned them, just done little stuff, and it's worked out kind of, but there's you know, there's just a lot of tables in these things, and there's just more and more torque limiting stuff that, you know, more pain in the ass to get everything else to work right and do what you want it to do. So so this is an injection pulse conversion table is what they're calling it, but this is your pulse width table. And you know, right off the bat, I bet it's not even hitting these cells. It's probably hitting these. So it's running 18 to 1700 US at wide open throttle. So, and then we have, you know, 17 degrees, which ain't too bad. I mean, that's a lot of timing for a factory engine, you know, in my opinion. You know, that's how their Cummins is making power with these things, is they're just adding more timing. If you were to open up a Duramax file like an LML. I think that they're like 15 degrees maybe, and then they have bigger injectors, so they only run like I don't know, like 1,000 uh, pulse width. So this thing's already at 1,700, and that's not too bad. That's kind of where the factory, whatever. I mean, the LB7 Duramax used to run like 14 factory, but you know, every year they just keep cranking the pulse width up and the timing to make these things, you know, work right. You know, give them the power that they're supposed to. And the 10 through 12, I think they're like 400 horse or something. But yeah, so just the same thing over. You know, if you want to raise these values, I would go down into these cells here and I would add 1.1, 10%, and then interpolate. Go this way, interpolate. But as I was saying, you could probably add all the timing you want on these engines, and then it's still not gonna, you know, do what you want it to, because there's just so much stuff messing with you to get the thing to be tuned right, you know. And the fuel pressure, yeah, these are still 26,000 psi. This is the factory map, I think. Maybe not. I don't know. But it, you know, it's pretty decent. I wouldn't think you'd have to mess with it at all, you know, because there's really no reason to run past 26,000 psi anyways. This one has the turbine. It's kind of the same thing as the other one, 0. So let's see what else we got going on here. Okay, that's at 2200. Base is at 20. Let's check 5. 2,700 and 28 degrees. So yeah, that tune would run pretty well, I'm sure. But probably ain't gonna run that great without, yeah, and see, this has been raised to almost 190 for no reason. Because there's limiters, obviously. If you go back into here, torque limiting. These are just RPM limits. And you have all these access tables. This is a limitation here. So if you think that, you know, this needs to be high, like I would put this right at whatever these numbers are here. So you could go 1100 right here and do like 1100 here or even more. Because I mean, these things already make 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, or 1100 if you start playing with them. You know, you're going to need more for sure. If this isn't played with, then it's going to just pull the pulse width back and the truck isn't going to run like it should. Turbo overspeeding limit, RPM torque limit. You know, I know that I could tune these things. I just don't, like I said, there's just no way to support the files. And I just, you know, with the EPA stuff, all that, I'd rather just not deal with it at all. The 68 RFE transmission, I wanted to make a video on this anyways, line pressure. These transmissions suck at running line pressure, and you know, you sit at idle and they're like 60 psi, and you got to almost push the damn throttle half throttle before it, you know, it goes up to 120. Feel like, but that's the ramp rate. Here's some gains. Neutral. I don't know why I fucking do that shit, but you can play with this line pressure gain, line pressure max 1200. This is kPa. So if you can convert kPa to psi, you know, that'll give you whatever this line pressure is. You can play with this, but it's not going to do anything. You need to go into the transmission, and you actually have to drill a hole through the channel plate and buy a different separator plate to get these things to raise line pressure. But you know, after that's done, then you can raise the line pressure to whatever you want to do it or whatever. But these transmissions already are kind of weak, so you need to have tuning on them. Billet channel plate, Sonic's accumulators, is a really good upgrade for these things. Makes them shift like an old 48 that has a shift kit in it or something. And tuning, it just makes them so much better. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Just wanted to kind of go through these three, 5.9 and the 2.67s, kind of show people what